A very good morning, friends. We're happy to welcome all members and spouses of FICCI Ladies Organization and Merchant Chambers of Commerce and Industry to the first joint event of Flow Kolkata and MCCI Kolkata. Finance Workout. Invest like a CEO with Anand Rathi and Preeti Rathi Gupta. As the economy is opening up and poised to bounce back, we want to focus on revive and thrive. And we also want to take this opportunity to build wealth through understanding and managing our investments. And who better to provide this insight than the dynamic father daughter duo, Anandji and Preeti Rathi Gupta? I would also like to thank my friend Vivek Gupta, President MCCI, for sharing the desire to create a bridge between these two robust organizations of Kolkata. Vivek Gupta has been a member of the Rajya Sabha from West Bengal. He is the chairman of the board and also the editor and founder of the leading Hindi newspaper Sanmarg. I'm looking forward to the association between the two organizations growing steadfastly in the future. Hi, Vivek.
Hi, good morning.
Good morning. Good morning. I'd like you to now address everyone here today.
Thank you, Surira ji. Respected Shri Anand Rathi ji, Srimati Preeti Rathi Gupta ji, Srimati Sonal Butra ji, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen. I have great pleasure in extending a hearty and cordial welcome to all of you to this webinar jointly organized by my chamber, Merchant Chamber of Commerce and Industry, and Flow FICCI Kolkata on finance workout, learn how to manage your money like a CEO. I, for one, people and friends, I'm very excited because the topic is very, very relevant in today's time. And I thank Sunita ji for taking these efforts to organize such an interesting topic. We are delighted to have such a distinguished panel, both father and daughter, who are each accomplished in their own right, and a lovely Srimati Sonal Butra ji in conversation with them. Won't say much, would save all my time for the distinguished panel, but just wanted to set the tone by saying a few lines. William Ward very famously said, before you spend, earn, and before you invest, investigate. Similarly, it's managing money, as Warren Buffett said, cash is to a business as oxygen is to an individual. This whole pandemic period has actually taught us something, that cash is what is there with you and everything else is secondary. And just because Flow members are there and I'm married to a Flow past president myself, one can never underline the importance of a cash in a woman's hand. And going forward, I think the women are they are more complete than all of us, and they are only further needing the two L's in life, learning and leadership, which I hope they will be doing easily. On this topic, just want to say each one of us is the CEO of our own life and our own family and our own home. And as such, it's not always about what we do in business or home. It's about how we approach the decision making about money and finance. And I hope PPG and Anandji will give us some insights onto how to do with our money and what to do with our money. I just want to say that, instances like demonetization and others have in the past, given us very critical insights on how women and finances are dealt with. I mean, no offense to anybody, but I think every opportunity is a learning, and we should take these forward with us and learn from them and do something out of it. Once again, I warm welcome to all our visitors from the media, our friends in the audience, and our distinguished panel. And I would like to leave all of you with one simple thought. Maybe today making money or saving money is difficult, but it is not always going to be the same. And we are very soon looking to a change atmosphere. As they say, this too shall pass. With these few words, I hand it over back to Sunita ji. Thank you.
Thank you, Vivek. And as you mentioned, my dear friend Ruchika, I must say that you will agree with me that the best investment in your life has been in Ruchika.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely.
So I will take this opportunity to introduce our distinguished speakers today, from being the youngest president of Indian Rayon to introducing multiple innovative systems while at the helm of the Bombay Stock Exchange and setting up one of the leading full-service financial services company in India. Anandji has been a pillar of innovation, entrepreneurship, and excellence in the field of finance. Anandji, thank you for making the time to be with us here today. आनंद जी आप अनम्यूट कर लें अपने आप को प्लीज.
Thank you so much for inviting us, and very kind of you. Thank you.
Thank you, Anand ji. With 3 decades of experience in finance and investments, Preeti Rathi Gupta has been working consistently to bring economic empowerment to women and has founded the Lakshmi Bank to this end. It will be interesting to note that Preeti is also a founder and producer at Ishika Films. Preeti, that's indeed a varied and impressive portfolio. Thank you for being here with us today.
Thank you, Sunita. Thank you, Vivek, for having us here. It's always, I think, Dad and I always have conversations offline, so it's great to have this online conversation and have, chat to everybody on this platform.
Thank you, Preeti. In conversation with Anand ji and Preeti ji, we have with us anchor and research analyst at CNBC TV 18, Sonal Bhutra. Hi Sonal, welcome to Flow Kolkata.
Hi Sunita, thanks a lot. Thanks a lot for inviting me here, and thanks a lot Vivek ji as well for having me here.
We are looking at a truly engaging discussion here today. I invite you to take this further from here.
Thank you so much. And Anand ji and Preeti ji, thanks a lot for joining us. I'm sure the conversations that both of you have offline, and when you get it online, it'll be so good for all of us who are present here. And the times are so uncertain right now. We are seeing that our economy is opening up, but still the economic activity is not at par with what it was earlier. The stock markets are very volatile, gold prices are going up, so every investor is very confused as to what their investment strategy should be right now. And in such uncertain times, a wise hand is always something that somebody likes. So in that scenario, let me open up this discussion and ask both of you, since we are talking about how we are the CEO of our own lives and we want to invest like a CEO, you tell us, how do CEOs really invest? What is so different from an average investor? And in this uncertain time, what is the investment strategy that anybody should adopt so that it's pandemic proof?
I think, thanks a lot, Sonal, for having us once again. I think we have a structured presentation. I think we can take through shortly, all the people into the presentation. And I'll request Preeti to start the presentation. We have done this a part of the, thing Preeti will handle, particularly to motivate ladies to come into the wealth management. And then some part I'll take care. And then, of course, we'll have question answer. So Preeti, over to you.
Okay, I think I'm sharing my screen. Can you see it? I just want go ahead by everybody that you can see it. Sonal, can you see this screen?
No, actually not, Preeti ji.
Okay, so one second. I'm just going to go back because we did try this a couple of times before, and
the technology is not really in the favor these days because it's working.
Particularly,
yes, now
it will always happen at the nick of the time. Okay.
No, that's okay. We can see it right now, Preeti ji. Please go ahead.
Okay. All right. Lovely. So I think the I guess, we would like to speak, and we were asked to speak about how to manage money like a CEO. And like Dad said, we'll play the part of course, we've always been helping people manage their money, but I think I would really like to bring in the perspective of women on this platform, especially because there are a lot of women here, and really speak to them. And then, of course, come to the basic, the essentials of managing money and how do you do it like a CEO? What is CEO mindset? So the ideal CEO rationale. So when we say manage it like a CEO, then we are saying these are the few things that you must have as, or that's the thought process that you need to have the mindset. One, you're working on behalf of all stakeholders, like you would as a CEO of a company. You would aim for optimal returns, taking care that your risks are, controlled or mitigated. You're ready for emergencies and newer opportunities. One of the key things that I'd really like to highlight is, again, family strategy. This is, managing your money, particularly when it is your family wealth, is a family strategy. And it's important to have all stakeholders, but particularly spouses here. And as we go ahead, I'll share some more on why. Of course, as a CEO, you monitor regularly and not day-to-day handle. So it is ideally any strategy for managing your money should not require your intervention on a day-to-day basis or take your time up on a daily basis. It's essential to get professional and expert advice because now managing money is a very specialized field, and like all of us mentioned before, we're going to go through, for example, COVID is a crisis that we've never seen. We've never seen something like this before in our lifetime. So how does that change things? So it's always good to have professionals and expert advice guiding you in these challenging times. And I think we believe that the times ahead we'll have newer challenges to face. So this is the ideal CEO rationale. What I have set up is called Lakshmi, and the reason I've set this up is because I realized that women were taking a backseat when it came to managing money. We were very ambitious when it came to our careers, to our education, but when it came to really managing money, we would somehow leave it to men. While no harm there, but I think these are new times. It's important for us to understand how to manage money, and Lakshmi aims to bring the joy of financial power and acumen to money. So it's a platform that I've set up which encourages, which makes women really enjoy the art of managing money. Now this, I think we've always, I think Vivek really very certainly mentioned this, that, when it comes to money, and I think we've all been part of a lot of drawing room conversations where essentially we refer to as you spend a lot of money, women only know how to spend, so I have to earn, etc. So I think these are the myths that I'd really like to break. All research which is based on how women manage money essentially highlights three things: that women are very conservative because we are nurturers by nature, and therefore we manage our money well. But we take a little nurturing and conservative stance. We are very disciplined actually when it comes to managing money. I think anybody who's managing household budgets will know that how well we can manage that. And we always invest or save our money for some purpose. So we're essentially goal-based. And I think these things highlight that women actually make great investors. These are great qualities to make for a very good investor. So I think that's a one myth that I would like to break and address to all the women on this platform, that you have the essential attributes to make a good investor. We'll come to wealth and inheritance, and this essentially is not just about women, but why is it essential to manage money, especially for all the people on this platform? Research says 70% wealthy families lose their wealth when wealth is passed from one generation to the other. So during transmission, 70% of families lose their wealth. 80% millionaires are first generation wealth gainers. Now this is again very interesting. That means all the millionaires that you will see today, 80% of them have made their wealth themselves and it has not been inherited, which essentially says that wealth has passed from people who are making wealth to new generation wealth gainers. And therefore, wealth conservation, growth, and inheritance, they actually need a lot of thought strategy and execution. And I think as a CEO, essentially, we're looking at, all of us are in our professions, in our businesses, and that is where we spend a lot of our energy, which is, creating that wealth. And then the conservation, growth, and inheritance is something that needs a very well thought of strategy and execution. When it comes to women and investing, which is my favorite subject to speak on, so DSP Win Investor did this survey in 2019, and very interestingly, it said that only 33 women take investment decisions as compared to 64 men. I'd really like to highlight here that when we take the 33% women, it also includes the women on whose names investments are being done. So it's not really essential that they are doing it themselves. So the percentage of women actually taking their investment decisions could be even lower. One in every third woman said that they were forced to make these decisions. So essentially, it was only out of a calamity, crisis, that one in every three women really had to take on that responsibility. And the third most interesting fact, and this is to all the men here, is that actually spouses play a bigger role. So in the research, it says that the women who are investing were actually introduced to investing or money management by spouses, whereas men were introduced to it by fathers. So I think I'm reaching out to all the men here, when it comes to your wives, of course, and to your daughters, to play a very active role and ensure that they're taking up this life skill. And this, again, is a very interesting statistics about women and wealth inheritance. So interestingly, women outlive men. This is statistics. I'm not saying anything. And they are often the beneficiaries of wealth transfer. And this is showed by the fact that, the WealthX Billionaire Census, which was done in 2019, said that amongst all the billionaires, out of the women, 53.7% women had inherited and not made this wealth. Whereas for men, it was only 7.9%, and then the rest of them had actually made their wealth. So we are saying essentially that a lot of wealth is being inherited by women, and a large portion of wealth. And therefore, I think women need to be really prepared in the current scenario to learn how to swim instead of really being pushed out into the high tide. So I'm going to hand it over to Dad from here, and he will take it forward.
Anandji, sir, your mic is on mute.
So thanks, Preeti, for creating a nice background before I make the presentation. I want to thank Sunira and Vivek once again for inviting us to talk to these distinguished members of FICCI Flow and MCSI. Both are very, very important organizations of Calcutta. So, sabko mera namaskar once again, okay. And I think, as the topic selected is so nice. I think, how does a CEO decide about his job?
Yes.
And I think the philosophy of a CEO in managing a business and managing a wealth can't be different. And therefore, what does a CEO do? Please put the screen on, Preeti.
Actually, it is on. I don't know why.
Yes,
okay.
We can see it. We can see it.
All
yes.
right. So as any smart CEO will do, first and foremost in anything, you need is to define objective. One of the major things I have seen in my experience on wealth management people is that even the people who are very good in businesses, they are least structured in managing their wealth. And there's, many people I ask, even 5%, 10%, don't tell me what has been their objective. What do they really want to achieve with their wealth management? So obviously, first step is define your objective. Then once you have an objective, you must have clear strategy. As we do in any businesses, I think most of the people listening would have experienced a business that when we want to do something, we decide a strategy. What is the policy? What is the strategy going to be achieved? The goal which we have fixed for ourselves. Then obviously you implement your strategy. And as you implement, you need to review it continuously and get feedback and change during the process if you want to. Next. So when you define an objective, I'm giving an example. How do you want to define an objective? Suppose you want to do wealth management. I say that I have a 20 crores today. I want to build up to 60 crores in next 10 years. Okay. That's a broad principle which you define. Then that means you have to earn some 13%, 14% return in order to make 20 to 60 in next 10 years time. Then you have to see what is the type of risk you want to take, whether you can achieve that objective with the risk which you want to take. That's the most critical part in the wealth management. Most people, I have seen built up portfolios stone by stone, like building a house, without a drawing, without a plan. भाई आज क्या प्रोडक्ट लेना है, आज क्या अच्छा लगता है, मेरे को टेलीफोन आता है, सब कौन सा शेयर खरीद ले, क्या कर दे आज. I think that's not the wealth management. I think if you do in instance transaction by transaction, you lose sight of any objective. You don't know what sort of risk you're taking, whether it is in your defined risk. And obviously, one of the objectives which we are all good at to maintain the tax liability to the minimum or optimum level. There are ways to do it in a professional way. I'm not talking of evading tax, but I'm saying within the tax laws and your planning of wealth management and tax planning has to go together. And it is possible, and we've seen we have been able to reduce tax by 5 to 10% in proper planning of the portfolios. Then you must also see that your wealth, which is other than your business wealth, your private wealth should be as far as possible free from the liability to get risk from others. And we'll talk about trust in that matter. That how do you take out some money which is not, because you all give bank guarantees to the bank, personal guarantees. I think it's very important to as a part of objective. And then you have a real, a complete estate plan, that how will your wealth get be transmitted to your next generation in the way you want it. Whomor you want to give, what is the way. I think these are clear part of the objective, which is very important. People should spend large amount of time to define objective. If these are defined, then execution becomes far more easier. Now I'll go into when you execute. There are many asset classes. I'm talking of really 4 which are critical and important. We all know equities, debt, real estate, and precious metals. This is where most of our investments lie. I'm not talking things like painting. These are different things. Okay, or a second house that is for stay. That's not it. One thing I want to tell you: what is wealth is not, which is after using money for business and after using money for your consumption. Okay, so that's what your wealth is, and these are the 4 asset classes. Next. So how do you manage wealth? The long-term return, as I was mentioning, many people look at the market timing. अरे भाई आज खरीदे हैं, 10 बजे खरीदे हैं, 12 बजे खरीदे हैं, and those who view television, they will get a lot of ideas from Sonal television कि कितना कब खरीदना चाहिए. I'm sorry, something I'm talking with says that don't see the television so much on the investment. But anyway, the 3 important parts when you make your returns. One is the asset allocation, in which asset class you want to invest. And after deciding, then you select a security. If you decide equity, then you realize you want to buy Reliance, you want to buy Infosys, you want to buy TCS, Indian Rail, this is what all. Okay. Then also the timing. People think, okay, what is important? And this is a great research done in 1991. These 3 gentlemen found that why the different pension managers made different returns. Somebody made 6%, somebody made 12%. And they found out why this 6% difference. And the reason they found that 92% of the difference came because they were in the right asset time at the right time. People invested in equity or real estate or in gold or whatever when the asset allocation was key. The second was then the security selection. कि भाई आप क्या खरीद रहे हैं? My belief is कि भाई whether when market is up, घोड़े गधे सब भागते. जब खराब है, तो best, you have seen in this last 3 months, the best of the stocks, which are gold type of stocks, they came down by 50%, 60%. Okay, so that security selection is least important, and then market timing is the least important. Don't worry, if you are at the right time, at the right, So if you see, then how do you decide your asset allocation? Broadly, I have given 3 categories. Obviously, everybody has to decide his own based on the risk profile. But the people who are very conservative say equity में risk है, नहीं जाना चाहिए. Yes. But I will tell you why the risk is not there. But having said also that yes, equity is a risk. You make a conservative, you will make only 8% return. If you have a moderate portfolio, you have 45% equity, 50% debt, you will make about 11%. If you have aggressive portfolio, if you are large in equity and 75%, 25% in gold and debt, maybe you will make 14%. So I think you must, asset allocation must go in line with your objective. Next. Now, you know what is the difference? Sometimes we feel कि यार 8% और 10% में क्या फर्क पड़ता है? 2% का तो फर्क है, you know. Let me go to a conservative portfolio. But see what can happen if you invest 10 crores today. In 5 years' time, your conservative portfolio will become 15 crores, and your aggressive can become 19. Look at 10 years and more. Look at 20 years, because your wealth is there not for 1 to 3 years. It's there for long term. So in 20 years, in conservative portfolio, if you make only 8% return, you get 51 crores against 10 crores. You get 134 crores. So 2.5 times. The wealth could be largely different. So I think you must understand there is a power of a compounding. If you continue to invest in the portfolio, how will it grow? So this is showing, you know, what is the difference. If somebody had invested, 1 crore, how much it would have become in 30 years' time. If you look at this thing, you know, if you had fixed deposit, 8%, which has given in last 30 years about 8% return, would have grown to 9 crores. Same thing, very real, nearby is the gold, little higher than that. If you have taken property, my belief is, you know, today I'm talking today, earlier, you know, people used to say return in real estate is very high. But if you look at last 30 years, we have seen at best places it has given about 11, 12, 13% return. कई बार आज तो मेरा तो 50 गुना हो गया. But please work out the compounding rate. Then you will see what is the IRR, which we say, you know. The index has given about 14%, and good mutual funds, you know, initially the mutual funds produce a lot of alpha, much more than what index gave. And therefore you can see some good mutual funds have given many more times even the equity has given. So I'll show you, equity, there's a risk. Now please friends understand, risk is related to volatility and volatility is related to time. कितने पीरियड में आप इन्वेस्टमेंट रखते हो? तो ये 3 चार्ट दिखा रहा है. पहला चार्ट जो है that is 1 year rolling return. So if you take 1 year rolling return, you'll find, you know, so much variation. If you do this graph daily, then you will get worried. यार 5% ऊपर जा रहा है, 10% नीचे जा रहा है. Like it's a speculative market, it looks like that. But take a 5-year rolling return. If you are invested for 5 years, there's hardly any time you would have made any negative return. Look at 10 years. You see the entire chart shows positive return all through. And last 10 years, the return, average return is about 13.5% without taking dividend. If you take dividend of 1%, it's about 14.5 to 15%. Now, what is my scenario on the debt market today? You know, earlier people used to think the interest rates are good. Today, these whole things have changed. Now the return, look at the return. The deposit rates have come down to 3, 4, 5%. The liquidity, of course, you know, if you have fixed deposit, in a way they're liquid because you can break or you take loan against that. And credit risk, particularly when you go higher return on the that side. आप किसी company में invest करते हैं, you've seen, in, you know, some of the companies have found it difficult to repay, and many such things have been made in your mutual fund to zero value. If you are invested directly into one stock or one debt, you know, you might have suffered, and many people I know have given ICDs at 11%, 12%, have suffered. So you have to look at the credit risk before you invest in the debt portfolio. The next thing I'll talk on the real estate. You know, real estate has been darling of Indians. You know, even today, about 60% or more wealth is locked up in real estate. And this I'm talking not of I'm excluding the house for your stay or office for your use. No, I'm talking of the investment only. So I think what has happened, real estate obviously is very tough. And there are basic 4 reasons. I'll tell you why this is not good. And in our view, in next few years, real estate is not going to be a good investment, you know, in the portfolio, because the affordability has become very different. You know, between 2002, 2010 or 11, the prices increased so sharply, the incomes did increase. There has to be an increased income to price ratio in real estate in the world. And I think the moment it goes out, you find that real estate, the demand comes down. The vertical growth, because the way now FSI is being allowed, with the lands are becoming expensive, all governments are allowing more and more vertical, 100 floors, 50 floors, 30 floors, which we never used to heard before. As a result, obviously the land availability has increased, so that price of land used to be very, very important at that time is coming down. The inventory is so high, which I'll show in the next slide. And biggest disadvantage in illiquid. And difficult times when you want money, you can't get it from real estate because you can't sell it. And real estate is the most difficult asset to sell when you want to sell. So I think because of these reasons, we at the moment, if you see my portfolio, I have not included real estate at all in none of the portfolios, because we think that at least next 3 years, there is no reason that one should see the inventory. Almost 3 to 4 years inventory is there in almost every major market. So much of houses have been built. So till the consumption picks demand, and hopefully it will, because now the interest rates are coming down, people can afford. One of the things which I have been recommending to governments always is bring down the interest rate. People can afford to buy houses with 10%, 12% interest. Real estate, even for living, is unworkable. So that's about real estate. Then I think gold, has been one area which many people think, and we believe that those who want to have, if at all they want to have some percentage of their money, because that's a protection of your wealth. In gold, last 100 years history has been able to be equivalent to the either the currency depreciation for India or the inflation. So I think it protects your wealth. And if you want to invest, you say yes, 3 to 5%, you can think of that. Now the gold bond, just 2.5%. When we took our investors into gold bond, because in 2002 or 3, the interest rate was 8% on the gold bond. Fantastic. Then it came down to 5% and gradually. But this is one area where the part of, you can do this. So I think what you, next slide, would Preeti, just finish. I'll do the trust. You see, one of the things I mentioned in the objectives is, how do you protect your wealth, not getting exposed to the business risk or other risks which you've taken in life? Okay. So best thing is to transfer some part of your assets into the trust, because it gives you protection of life or goals. Whatever money you want for your dependents to have available, then it ring fences all your liability and risk. No attachment can come on the trust. You can do very active investment in the trust, because there is no bar. It becomes a separate entity as the taxable liability. Also, if the inheritance tax comes, so we advise people to do it fast, because someday in India also the estate duty will come. And once the estate duty comes, how sharp it will be, we won't know. But to that extent of estate duty, your money will not be, wealth will not be transmitted. So please do it in good times when the timing is good. In difficult times, you don't want to transfer your wealth. And when you are easy to do, please do it. And I think having, given the full background, I hope Preeti will now do the concluding part of it. Thanks, Sonal. Thanks, Preeti.
Okay, so I think broadly just run through a plan that one should have when you're monitoring, when you're creating your portfolio, managing your money as a CEO. And then what's left is really just that piece, how as a CEO you would monitor business, you would monitor your wealth as well. So essentially maybe spend time once a month just reviewing your portfolio, rebalancing based on decided asset allocation. I think that's been a proven philosophy and there's no moving away from it, except when you want to do some sort of tactical change in asset allocation. So for example, there may be times when you want to go heavier on, if your portfolio, for example, is 60% equity, 20% debt and 10% or 25% debt and 15% of some other asset class, you may want to go heavier on equity for a certain period of time if there is a change in the circumstances or the dynamics of the economy. And that is that time you kind of, when you review, you look at a tactical change if you want to do. And we always say that managing wealth is a specialized subject, and it's always good to take professional help, because these are people who are, whose full-time job is to monitor asset classes, monitor markets, monitor newer ways of managing the wealth. I come back to the same piece as, how and why women should get on to managing money. Start by taking small steps. I think it is important to start a new conversation. I'm very happy that Vicky, Flo, and Nikki have done this session. And the fact that a lot of women now want to come forward, that they understand the need to manage their money. I think more importantly for the generation after us, it will become very critical for them, because it's not just about financial independence; it is about financial freedom. So it is important that we create this community of financially fearless women. And interestingly, there is Dad's Day, and I think one thing that I always share, and that's the reason that I and Dad are here on this platform, is that the one thing that he did, one of the things that I really cherish that he's given to me is just financial literacy, financial independence, understanding the space. I remember as a 12th standard kid, I used to go to his office, understand, what stocks, how do they pay dividends, just by simple small steps. And I think coming up Father's Day, I would request, like I said, most husbands introduce women to investing. All the dads here, do gift your daughter the strength and the power of managing money. And it's become so easy now because everything is online. So any platform, and like I said, Lakshmi is a great platform where they'll enjoy. It's a community. So do gift it. And that's it from us. And happy to take any questions now.
Preeti ji and Anand ji, thank you so much. That was such a comprehensive presentation of what every investor has to take care of. And something that stuck with me was financially free females. Because, a lot of us, a lot of females, they are not really so much into investing. And they're always scared, at what threshold should I invest my money? In fact, in demonetization, we saw that huge heaps of money that were found with the females, because they're actually the savers, right? They have a strategy, they have a goal, they have an objective when they save money or spend money for that matter. So my question to you, Preeti ji, a lot of them are scared as to when should I invest? Should I have minimum savings before I invest? So according to you, when should they start? What is the correct time for anybody to invest, especially when they are females?
So I think the right time is now. And I always say this because the earlier you start, the richer you get. And I think the beauty of starting investing is that you can start really small. You can start with a very small amount, with just understanding, getting into mutual funds. Like we said, start with an asset allocation, just understand, where you would like to put your money, begin with a goal, do an asset allocation. So exactly the steps that we just said, is, as long as you put it down on paper, follow these steps, it just is very simple. Begin small. You can take baby steps till you gain that confidence. But again, I think investing is really not as complicated as it is made to sound. And I think it's a block that you need to break in the mind. And once you start doing it, trust me, it's you just love the feeling of your money growing.
Oh, absolutely. Start whenever you're ready. Do a proper asset allocation. And of course, the objectives have to be very clear. Anand ji, let me come across to you. You have seen markets for so long right now. And whatever is happening right now, what is your view? Because we are not really seeing that economic activity and markets are going in sync right now. So what do you suggest the investors should do? Consider the economic activity before they invest in markets. What should their strategy be right now as far as equity markets are concerned?
Okay, thanks, Hanal. I think I'll just take back to my presentation that when you want to invest, don't look at the timing. And particularly if your strategy is correct, I would think that when difficult time comes, that's the right time to invest. So I would think when markets are low, I mean, you can't have better time. What do you want? You want to buy low and sell high. This is a good time, and any time is good. As I said, it is not the transaction. It should be long term. But if somebody wants to do a short term view, which we said a tactical reallocation. At this moment, I'll say even if suppose my allocation is 60% to equity, when markets are low, I would like to take it to 70%. At that time, by rebalancing, I will get a larger portfolio at a lower cost. So I think time is good. A long-term economy, you see, let's not worry about 3 months or 6 months. I think look at the Indian economy as a long-term view. Yes, these 3 months are difficult, 6 months are difficult, but after October, November, you'll start seeing in normality. Maybe next year, if this year is bad, next year will be a huge growth coming in. There'll be pent-up demand. You see, people at this time are saving money, so a lot of money will come for spending. But right now, yes, people become conservative when times are tough, with their right to do. I think in tough time, remain conservative, but I think time is good. Okay. Time is good to invest. Okay.
Absolutely bullish on Indian economy. In fact, there was a Warren Buffett quote which said that wealth creation is basically passing on money from the impatient to the patient. So we have to be patient and believe in what India's story is. So that is about the equity markets. Let me pose a question to you about debt markets. We saw the Franklin Templeton scare right now, them shutting the schemes. So right now, everyone's very scared about debt market mutual funds or debt markets on the whole. What is your thought? What are your thoughts about it? Is equity a better place, or one should continue? If they have investments in debt funds, they should continue with that.
Okay. I think one thing which you rightly said, which I would like to add what Preeti said, one great quality in ladies is patience.
Yes.
And in our money market, to make money, you have to be patient. And to that extent, I think without any offense to men, women are better qualified to make wealth management. Okay. Now, on that market, as you rightly said, I said in my slide, the biggest risk which you need to assess is the credit risk. Now, there is always a trade-off. You want to get higher rate of interest, you are taking higher credit risk. Now, you can't have both. If you want to invest today, these government securities will give you 5-6%. That's the best thing to invest today rather than going to fixed deposits. But if you want a higher return, then I think even mutual funds, they are different. That mutual fund is not one. As you know, there are 20 categories of that mutual fund. Yeah. So even if they come in trouble, I think one need not worry. Even if your distributed portfolio is there, and if your exposure in one particular debt is 2 or 3%, it's not that your complete portfolio is wiped out. I think so. I would say people should not worry. Even if it comes to that, okay, keep patient, money will come. Even in the debt funds where you have got this temporary, stoppage. But debt funds, if you want to invest, obviously, either the debt fund, you have short duration fund, medium duration fund, GSEC funds, they are good to done because the quality is AAA. But we have seen even AAA have, come and come.
Oh yes, absolutely. We are seeing a lot of things right now happening, and there are new concepts that a lot of us are getting introduced to. Something that we never saw before. But Preeti ji, let me come across to you.
I'll just add to this also.
Yes, please.
Some of us keep money in debt funds because of also liquidity,
Yes,
to
absolutely.
maintain that liquidity. So actually, I just believe for the next 3-6 months, it may be good to park some money in overnight funds because then those are, obviously the risk is almost nil and you can at least redeem and get your money out if you need for anything. So add it to whatever Dad said.
Yes.
She is happy with low return. I am not. So I'll put in short duration funds or GSECs.
So I think nobody's happy with lower returns, but the risk is something you can manage, but returns is something we can only pray for, right? So that is some balance that we all have to make. But yes, absolutely. So
Sonal, I add here,
Yes.
the interest curve is very important to be seen in that. When interest rates are going down, you make much more money. Today, anybody who invested in government securities 1 year back, today is making 10 to 12% return. Okay, so I think you have to take a view on the interest rate scenario. My view is that interest rates are going to go little further from here.
Yeah.
Okay, and therefore still taking a view on that fund to my mind is okay. This is my personal view.
Oh, that was going to be one of my questions, right? The way interest rates are going down, are you still very bullish on, say, government securities or funds like those? But you say that you are very positive. Preeti ji, what are your thoughts on that?
No, so I totally agree. I think my point was just that if there is certain amount of money that you need to keep aside, I always, and especially when I speak to women, I realize that we need that, that's something that we call emergency fund that you want to just keep aside in case of, any emergency. Then that's the one that you keep aside, maybe in overnight funds, etc. But I think that other than that, I completely, I cannot disagree, right?
No, no. Oh God, okay. But markets are based on views. Markets are a lot of movement of subjective views. So that is what keeps the conversation going on so well. But I totally agree with both of you. We have a question from one of the members, Ritu Jajoria, who's asking something that I was asking you as well. The entire world economy is in crisis, but we're still seeing that stock markets are moving up. We saw it in the US markets, we're seeing in the European markets as well as the Indian markets. So what is this movement? Is it fundamental, or is it only that people are pushing in more liquidity in the markets? And how do we see markets in the near future?
It's a very good question, Ritu. I think very brilliant question. I think answer in short is yes, it is liquidity driven today. When a lot of liquidity comes in the market, lot of money moves into the risk assets. Also the reason, because you see in all the markets, Western markets, the interest rates have become negative or become zero. And therefore the risk taking ability of people goes up. कि भाई इसमें पैसा आना ही नहीं है. Suppose in Europe I am making -1%, I might as well put in the equity. At least I will hope to make 4, 5, 6%. So I think today it is liquidity driven, surely, but the fundamentals can catch up, but not today. It may take 2, 3 years. The world economy is in difficult situation. It will be there, but if you see, there will be always a higher return in the higher risk assets. The equity has to give a higher return than debt in order to attract money into the equity. So I think today the question is very right. Is it liquidity driven? And therefore market may not remain at the level they are. They may go down because they are not fundamentals driven. Fine.
Okay, so it is a liquidity-driven market, and that is something Anandji is saying. But yes, still in near term, he is bullish on what will happen with the markets. So let me come to you, Preeti.
Add,
Yes, please do.
Especially when I speak to women, because one of the things that really scares them is market volatility and the fear that today they are at high, tomorrow they are low. And I think the best way, like we said, you don't try time markets, right? So what you do is a systematic investment a period of time that you're kind of averaging out and you're not losing money low market while you are, and eventually you catch the highs. So it's something that you should not want that. I hear a lot of fear that, now markets are not, they're not, they're going to crash and it's not really fundamentally strong. Or I think we just wait for the right.
Preeti ji, I think technology is not really helping us right now. I would like you to fix your Wi-Fi a little bit because we are getting very cracked sounds from you. So I would request you to do that for a bit. And till then, actually, I have a lot of questions coming in from the audience as well. And till the time Preeti ji fixes her Wi-Fi, I'll come to you again, Anandji. You did speak about precious metals. You spoke about gold and silver. Gold has been going higher, right? It's basically the safe haven that everyone's talking about. If not into equities, we'll go into gold. And the prices are really going up, good for investors, but really bad for all the consumers right now. So what is your assessment? How should one look at gold, be it in sovereign funds or, directly invest in gold as a commodity?
I think primarily my view would be to go on gold if you need it. Otherwise, up to 5%, if you allocate it, fine. If you want to go, better go on the gold bonds because you get some interest also in addition to the changes in the gold prices. So best to go through the gold bonds of the government and keep some money there. I think, पहले अपना रिवाज होता था कि लड़की जन्मते ही हर महीने 1 तोला सोना खरीदेंगे. तो भैया अब 1 तोला सोना खरीदने के बजाय आप 50,000 रुपए के 1 लाख रुपए के गोल्ड बॉन्ड ले लीजिए. So I think, still, I think India, the gold is considered important as, ceremonial reasons. So I think it's good to invest, and maybe when you need it, you can always convert your gold bond into the gold. But I would say that's not a long-term, very high return investment portfolio.
Okay, not a high return risk portfolio, but you did speak about the objective or what kind of contribution gold has in Indian families. So Preeti ji, if you can hear me, is Preeti ji there?
No, she's not
Okay,
there.
I
So I
think
can
she's
hear
not there.
you. I can hear you. I'm just trying
Okay.
to turn off my video so that we're not.
Okay, all right. So I will ask you, Anandji, then. You spoke about how you do not like real estate so much because we all are seeing that even in Mumbai, the prices have touched like another level. The affordability is really less, inventory levels have gone up. So what do you think about real estate related funds? We do have REITs, right? India's first REIT was listed on the exchanges in 2017. It's all commercial based. So if not residential, are you bullish on the commercial space? And is there somewhere that people can invest money? Because REITs supposed to be doing really well because the kind of consumption that we are seeing there.
You see, REITs were made primarily to, bring the pre-leased assets into this portfolio or commercial portfolio. I think worry now is after this COVID, the commercial portfolio, the view is also changed a lot. Today, because the work from home has become technological possible, you'll find that a lot of commercial, assets getting now vacated. My view on the commercial is not great. I think the commercial asset prices will not be able to stand, and particularly the rents. Already across the area, the rents are now being reduced, and they will because everybody is facing pressure. I know, for example, the people who are employing large number of people, like service companies or chartered accounting firms, many of them are vacating to the extent of 30, 40, 50% of their area. So I am not really bullish on commercial property as well.
Okay, so overall, real estate is not looking so good for you, Anandji. Absolutely. So there was a question by Ms. Archana, and she was asking about specifically what is about a woman's inheritance in terms of wealth from her maiden family. Is there any thoughts that you have, Preeti ji, on that? What should somebody do about that? She wants some light on married women's inheritance towards her maiden family.
So I think, like we spoke about, and I think this is something that in order to not create confusion, we've always recommended that create trust, create wills. So essentially, I think we go by the Hindu inheritance law, whereby which was the law that was changed, I think, a couple of years back. But essentially, if there is a will, etc., which addresses it, you know, uh, it's okay. Otherwise, I think by the Hindu inheritance law is what applies, which is essentially giving equality to daughters and sons.
Absolutely. Law is also something that everyone has to take care of, right? While you are investing or planning to do something in that particular way. We have a question from one more of our members, Mr. Yash, who is asking, as a strategy, should one always remain fully invested and not time markets at all? Or should one park aside a certain percentage in cash? So this is some debate that keeps going on, right? Does it have to be cash a little bit in your overall portfolio? Preeti ji and Anandji, please.
Preeti first.
So, like I said, I think we go back to the asset allocation theme, which is, what is the percentage of equity, debt, etc., that you've decided. And I think debt gives you that opportunity to kind of, if at any point in time you see your opportunities, because again, we're saying don't time the markets, do an asset allocation. The only time you really want to make that shift is and tactical, allocation, change in allocation, which is to say, okay, do I think that it's a great time to invest in markets now? So move some of my debt into equity because, the going forward, equities will see a greater return, etc. I think that is when you actually look at it. And I think I've always said that keep an emergency fund, which is essentially, 6, 8, 9 months of whatever your, and we're talking only of personal finance. So therefore, all your personal expenses, etc., are taken care of. Beyond that, I think money lying idle is really losing money.
I would, just to supplement, I think one should remain invested. Emergency funds should keep separately because, even if you keep something for emergency, at some point in time you'll invest it. So what is more important, I'll tell yes, is to rebalance the portfolio. There's a concept of rebalancing which I'll explain. That, suppose you put 50% in equity, Every year when you see, you must say that if it exceeds 60%, because of the valuation going up, I must convert part of that portfolio from equity and go to debt, which will become lower balancing. So always try to see in long term, you keep on having that strategic allocation. In short time, when, for example, these markets came bad, the debt has not done badly. You could withdraw that and put into equity, which is a technical decision, as Preeti explained. कि भाई इस समय 8,500 की निफ्टी आ गई या 25,000 का इंडेक्स आ गया, इस समय अच्छा लगता है, तो convert part of the portfolio 5 or 10% from your strategic allocation to a tactical allocation. So that would be a better thing to do. Yes.
And also, when I say emergency, I don't actually mean cash. I mean cash proxy. So I
Yes.
typically into any funds that are still giving you a better return than your FDs, etc.
Okay, so
Ruby
emergency
asked
fund
one
is,
I'm seeing one
yes.
question from Ruby.
Yes, we'll just ask Ruby ji's question as well. But first, we have a question from Renuka Shah, who's the past president. And she's asking that before COVID-19, our growth forecast was around 6% as far as Nifty is concerned. You did speak about Nifty levels as well, Anandji. And Nifty then was around 11,000. We saw that huge surge in markets. Nifty being the barometer of economy, right? Now it is just above that 10,000 mark. It is 10% below the levels where we were before COVID-19. So she's asking, when will we get back to that 6% trajectory in terms of growth?
Okay, very good question again. I think, if you look at 6% growth, surely next year we'll cross 6%, 21, 22. But that percentage you should view in the terms of the lower growth or negative growth this year. This year there could be negative growth of 3 to 5%. Okay, that's possible. So 6% is not really great next year. I would expect next year 8 to 10% growth, because this year would be lower base. On lower base, I would expect at least 8-10% growth, which is easy to get, and I'm confident that we'll be able to get to that. And
Okay,
coming to the market,
yes.
markets again, they are economic barometers on a longer term, because your economy doesn't change day to day, markets do, because markets show the collective wisdom of all the investors together. Market ऊपर कब जाता है? जब सब लोग, ज्यादा लोग सोचते हैं, more than 50%, 51% investors think that it's going to go up, so they come and invest. नीचे कब जाता है? जब ज्यादा लोग सोचते हैं कि it's going to go down. So let's not worry about day-to-day market. As I explained very clearly, market is impossible for everybody. I've seen people who came to market, they missed the best years of market, and then their average, return came down sharply.
Absolutely. Timing markets is something it comes with a lot of experience, and still markets go the opposite way of what people are, expecting out of it. Preeti ji, let me come across to you. And we have Pradeep Sanchedi ji who's asking a question, and specifically on the most important sector, maybe. It's his question asking, how will the financial sector, especially banks, perform? Because there was so much liquidity scare. There's moratorium that's being given. There are a lot of cases going on where the interest should be waived off. In that scenario, how do you view the financial sector?
So I think particularly coming to banks, I mean, especially the next 3 to 6 months or 9 months where the moratorium has been extended. So we are essentially seeing actually banks show very good performance because they're not accounting for NPAs, etc. So I think, that is something that going forward next 6-9 months, obviously we've seen the prices, bank stocks, etc. also rise up. So from my perspective, I think we'll have to wait and watch for the post maybe 12 to 18 months, how especially the in terms of what is the transmission of the stimulus, which is the loans that are given without collaterals, and how do they actually pan out in terms of when they're collecting the loans again.
Okay, I'll add to that,
Yes.
Sonal.
Ji,
I
sir.
think obviously banks are having the most difficult times
Yes.
because of the asset side. Their asset side problem is there, that recovery, how much will come, has to be, restructured, whether there'll be loss. It's not clear. So I think asset side, yes, there's a problem. But if you look at the liability side, there's big advantage. They are getting huge deposits. Today, the deposit flow is very large. The interest rates are coming down as a result. The GSEC portfolio, the largest portfolio in a bank is GSEC. About 25-30% of every bank is in GSEC. So that portfolio is giving very good returns. So on profitability wise, on liability side, they are gaining. They are getting deposits at a very low rate of interest. I think State Bank is giving 3%, 3% on 5-year deposit. Okay. So they are, on one side very comfortable, but it's difficult time. It's difficult to, I think bigger banks, they will all survive, but banks will need a lot of capitalization. So will be private sector banks. We already seen some banks going to the market and raising money of the equity. I think for banks, the raw material is key. I think they should continue to raise money, keep a comfortable equity level, then banks will not be trouble.
Okay, so that is an interesting thing that you mentioned, that there is a need of equity in the banking sector, but something that is connected to the financial sectors is the NBFCs. That NBFC scare that happened after we saw what happened in October 2016. There was a big crash in the markets. NBFC stopped getting funds from the banking sector. In that scenario, is it the apt time to invest in NBFCs? Preeti ji, let me start with you, and Anand ji, let me come to you on that then.
Okay.
Preeti ji, can you hear me? I don't think she can hear us. Sir, Anand ji, please. Yes.
Yes, I think NBFCs have gone through tough times, and I don't think for all NBFCs the bad times are over. You can't put them in one basket. There are NBFCs which are very liquid, and keeping liquid balances, they will be doing very well because they have money to lend, and right now they will get better quality of the assets as collateral. The credit risk would be lower. But many NBFCs which have were very highly leveraged and have a problem of asset liability mismatch. Particularly NBFCs have invested in the real estate, not directly, even through the lending to the real estate. So I think it depends on each NBFC, but NBFCs are going to survive. They are very important part of the ecosystem which you have got, because banking system cannot take certain type of risk or cannot reach all they need. So for MSMEs or for individuals, NBFCs are going to play a role. So one can decide, as Kalpa is asking, she can decide in 3-year horizon, the good quality NBFCs will do well.
Okay, so in a 3-year horizon, a good quality NBFC will do well. Preeti ji, I was also asking you the same question, because NBFCs lend to a lot of sectors, be it the real estate sector, be it commercial vehicles, and in all these sectors, we are seeing that the activity is going down day by day because of whatever is happening in the economy. Sir thinks that in the 3-year horizon, good NBFCs will survive. What is the current scenario as far as NBFC investing is concerned? What do you have to say on that?
So absolutely agree. I see a lot of consolidation in the NBFC sector. There are obviously, it's been painful time for NBFCs the past couple of years, and I think it's not getting better in the near term. So therefore, we will see a lot of consolidation there. I think important to, especially if you're looking at kind of investing, then looking at strong NBFCs in terms of management, what is their lending book, etc. Based on that. So I don't think, there will be consolidation, but, NBFCs provide a very important role within the financial ecosystem. And therefore, I think that is something that you can't negate.
Okay, so NBFC is something that everyone should not really write off as yet. It's still legs to go as far as growth is concerned. We have Archana Sunthalia ji, who is asking a question. Sir, please comment on the Jio Facebook deal. What India's competition regulator will have to consider? What are the considerations that they'll have to make? So once this deal is approved, the CCI considerations and the others.
Well, I think deal is good. I would welcome any money, any foreign investment coming into Indian companies, because number one, you are getting liquidity, which you need very badly. Second, you are getting equity, which you need in the companies. CCI, I'm really not competent to comment on what CCI will do. But, already we have I think what I see, the players who are there in telecom would survive. They would go on. They had a lot of hiccups because of either government policy or court decisions. But this is what, in India, I think we are used to face a lot of hurdles in any business when we do. But hopefully, company, because now in this play, they are doing very well because the amount of utilization of their data, is so high. Everybody's ARPU is going up, revenues are going up. And as technology develops, I think telecom is the basic infrastructure requirement for the economy. Any growing economy, this will do well. So I believe that telecom is a good sector, even to invest today.
Absolutely. Yes, ma'am. I was coming to you.
We're seeing a lot of added interest now in the other telecom companies, especially after the DoDs. So I think, essentially, I think there will be money that will come in as well. In terms of the other companies that are there in the telecom sector. So.
Oh yes, in fact, we all have been working from home for so long now, right? So the telecom industry and the data is something that has become the necessity. Data is the new oil right now. Absolutely. We have so many questions coming in, Anandji and Preeti, but the time that we have is really short. So let me get in Mr. Vivek Gupta, who's the MCCI president. He also has certain important and interesting questions to pose to you. So Vivek ji, over to you.
Actually, sir and ma'am, I have Preeti ji, I have two questions. But before that, Preeti ji, just wanted to tell you, when I said earn and keep, I was referring to all the women who earn. And just wanted to clarify. Sir, Anand ji, आप हमसे बहुत senior है, आपने बहुत दुनिया देखी है. My question to you, sir, is there a myth or is it a reality that there is a female investor and there is a male investor? Obviously, debt, equity, we can go on a debate, and what would be your advice to both of them? What could they learn from each other? And the second part of my question, Preeti ji, Anand ji, anyone can answer is, people in India are generally very secretive about their investment. They actually want to, keep it concealed from everybody else, which I think is a very good idea. Now, the women find it very, very difficult, especially when they have to go through banking channels or formal channels. Any ideas or any tips or any suggestions how they could, do it? Because without making any insinuations towards anybody, the informal economy and the formal economy are merging. The lines are getting blurred. So I don't know if there is some message, because this would be a valuable feedback from me. Over to you, Preeti.
Yes, Vivek, I'll answer the first question. Second question, I think Preeti will answer. आपने सवाल बड़ा सही रेज किया. आप तो खुद मीडिया बैरन हैं. आप जानते हैं कि अभी in the change scenario now.
Oh.
Okay, because now there is अपने ही सोसाइटी में जो मारवाड़ियों में पहले नहीं होता था, कम होता था कि बच्चे पढ़ते नहीं हैं, लड़कियां कम से कम there was not much. Now today, they are all.
Anandji, if you don't mind, can you repeat, because we lost you. Anandji, we lost you. Sorry. Can you repeat, please?
Yes. Yeah. What I was saying was that today, the female also are getting educated, and it's a very good thing, because men are busy taking their business decisions. I ideally suggest that your private wealth management, train your ladies to do it if they are not full time in your business. देखिए मेरे तो तीनों बच्चे जो है, both my daughters and my daughter-in-law, all three of them are full-time work, and they manage their investment also. So I think today the competence level is increased. So now ये female male investor का जो difference था, पहले था तो भाई समझती नहीं है, घर का काम है, और all the role has changed now, Vivek. So I think I would encourage, this is a great thing. आप जैसे families अपनी छोटी होती जा रही हैं, joint families are not there. Women have to play a very important role in not only in business if they can, otherwise in business management they are very good. So I would not, try to say, मैंने कहा कि division of work घर में भी होना चाहिए. कि अगर मैं धंधा देख रहा हूँ, मेरा portfolio अगर मेरी बेटी, वाइफ, बहू कोई देख सकती है, why not? And I think they can do a good job. Okay, Preeti, you would like to answer this second question?
Yeah, but I'll also add on to this. I think the only difference while investing, it's a process, right? It's a set of tools that you use. I think the only difference, and I find this very often, is that women tend to be more goal oriented. Like I've said, they're conservative but also goal oriented. Also, I think when women look at investing, I mean, today when it is a family wealth, it's a strategy that everybody sets together. But if the woman is looking at her own investments, then I think one of the things that she looks at is saying, what are my life stages? What are my goals? We've seen today whether it's relevant to understand that if a woman is, for example, in a job, then she is at the same position, not earning as much as the man. So her money needs to actually work harder. We take breaks, whether it's maternity breaks, post-marriage breaks, etc. So how do you build in those into your, your wealth management or your money management bit? And which is where I think the way women look at it may be slightly different. But I think when it comes to a family strategy, which is why it's important to get women on board as well, because it needs to be family goals and not just the money, the person who's managing money, his goals. So to me, that is that one difference. Your second question was essentially saying that I think at least we truly believe that simplify your life as much as you can, and the I don't think I'd be a great person to really comment on really using banking channels. I mean, for us, I think it's always life is always, and that's what we recommend. Simplify it, use, and it's become completely online. It is so easy now, so digitized to do any transaction, invest, etc. That I think the ease is worth everything else. And of course, the stress that comes along with really managing two different sets of portfolios or wealth can be quite stressful. So I think that's my little bit, and I don't think I'm very conversant. Maybe that can add on something to that.
Yeah, I think, one question you raised about whether you keep your investment secret or not. But मेरा belief तो है कि family में सबको पता होना चाहिए. I've seen problems where something happens to somebody in the family and the family, is not aware of all the investments or lendings or all that. अब ऐसा है कि भैया अब तो बच्चे भी जो है friends हैं. I think you have to take the children as your friends, and my belief, personal belief, is that share information amongst all the members. There's nothing to hide, I think outsider comes to know. आपने कहीं डिपॉजिट रखा उसको पता आपकी वेल्थ का. आपने कहीं इन्वेस्ट करना पता है. तो my view is personally, please bring the family members into the strategy. They understand. We actually as wealth manager, when we go, we tell people कि भाई आप हमारी बात सुने पर आप फैमिली में उनको साथ बिठाइए. Let them also hear, because the strategy is not अपने खुद के लिए कंजम्पशन के लिए आदमी ज्यादा नहीं कमाता. जो ज्यादा कमाता है कि किसको पास ऑन करना है, कि भाई बेटे को क्या देना है, पोते को क्या देना है, बेटे को क्या देना है, So I think my belief is make it as transparent as possibly we can and bring the family members. Right, Vivek? Does it answer your question?
Yes, sir, it does. Thank you. Namaskar.
Okay.
Vivek ji, thank you so much. And Anandi, you mentioned a very important thing, that communication is important. The way relationships grow with communication, I think money also will grow if there is proper communication that goes on. And that is a great thing that you said. All the three daughters, that's your daughters and daughter-in-law, manage their own money. And it is important, right? Because only 33% women manage their own finances versus 64% in India. So we really need to push them more to go forward, manage their own money and invest them. Just one question before I get Sunira ji in this conversation again. Preeti ji and Anand ji, great investing techniques and skills that you have experienced or learned over years. What is that you take from your personal life into your investing skills or your investing experience that helps you invest in a better way or makes you a better investor? For you, Preeti ji, you also have a creative side to you. Does that help you in investing? And Anand ji, what about you?
So I think, Sonal, I keep a very clear, kind of a wall between my creativeness and my investing. I think investing is a very systematic, simple process that you need to follow. Having said that, I think, you must have guessed from the conversation that I and Dad are having that I tend to be a little bit more conservative than, in the sense that I have those near-term goals, etc. What I try and do is really invest my money for my goals, because that is a constant learning. So whether it's my short-term goals, whether it is my long-term goals, etc. I think patience is something that that I think I have gained more from real life, and which I translated to investing, uh, which has really helped over a long time.
Okay, patience
Yes,
is virtue, Anandji. Yes.
Also,
yeah.
I think all of us go through that phase. I mean, at least at a certain age, where you want to dabble into stocks and you want to buy and sell and all of that. And I think that experience also teaches you that, it's like a Google map, right? It's just put in your goals and your strategy and follow it to the T. Really trying to take these shortcuts, etc., doesn't really get you that alpha. So
Yes, the biggest thing, Sonal, I learned from my personal experience was that wealth management also be done objective oriented. What we found in most places that in the personal life we have clear goals, clear targets, clear ambition, what we want to achieve, But when it comes to wealth, we work very differently. तो मेरा तो ये मानना है कि जो सेटिंग कर रहे हैं, आपकी रोड मैप कर रहे हैं, स्ट्रेटेजी कर रहे हैं, do the same thing here. And obviously, maybe if you don't expertise, take help of the expert. That's what I believe. हमारे बिजनेस में जो चीज हमको नहीं आती, हम कंसल्टेंट बुलाते हैं. That's the right thing. Similar thing we should do in our personal life. I think there's not much of difference between, when you manage as a CEO your business or as a CEO of the wealth. I think essentially the process is the same.
Okay, so have an objective. Anandji, Preeti, thank you so much. And I would like to welcome Sunira ji right now with her questions and with her take. Sunira ji, sorry to keep you waiting. Please go ahead.
Oh, not at all. It was such an interesting conversation. And I just want to bring a little personal question here. Preeti, I know you were married at a very young age, and thereafter you achieved which very few women would even dream of. So I'm really intrigued at this contradiction. Please share your journey and what drove you to this phenomenal success.
Well, really kind words. I don't think, I mean, I'm still in that journey, but I think, yes, I did get married quite early. And in some ways, one of the things that I've learned in life is that you kind of adjust to circumstances and move on and do the best. A few things that I think really helped me was, one, I think continuous guidance by both my father and father-in-law. I think I'm blessed to have, people who encouraged and said, okay, you must study more, you must, work in the business, you should. So I think that's really great. I remember I took off to study when my son was 8 months old, and I couldn't have found a more supportive family to say, yes, go ahead and do it. I think, and the few things that I've realized is that life is really about, your relationships and the support and the kind of, because they actually either pull you down or give you the wings to fly. And I think that is what really helped me, in the sense that equation with my in-laws, with my family, etc., has, I've always kind of said that really pushes me forward and encourages me. And today my kids. So I think, yeah, all in all, and I would just say, I think it's just gratitude towards, gratitude that it's all fallen in place. You work hard towards what you want to do. But yeah, it's still a long road to go.
I think very well put, Preeti. I think it is true. Like when they say there's a woman behind every successful man, and I think there's a full family behind a successful woman. And
Absolutely.
that's exactly what you said. Anandji, this return on investment on your daughter has been amazing, I would say. All the
Thank
effort
you.
and everything that you have done, and that has, brought this amazing success story. I would now actually like to talk about this program that we are launching. Friends, on the ongoing COVID pandemic is taking a heavy toll on all of us, individually and equally on our businesses. It is an even bigger blow to the fledgling ventures that have just started their journey, or smaller businesses that are just struggling to stay afloat. We at Flow Kolkata are committed to standing with you through this period of crisis and then celebrating with you when you come out shining. To meet this objective, in association with our training partners, NUVA, we would like to launch a program entitled Survival to Success. This is the first of a series of online programs delivered by industry experts and seasoned faculty. Its objective is to help you cope with your burning issues so that you can focus on planning and reimagining your business. It has been curated keeping in mind the issues, needs, and aspirations of the members, both at Flow and by Flow, and all other women entrepreneurs all over the country. This online program, to be conducted over 6 weekend sessions in July, will equip you with the knowledge and tools to manage your finances, your people, your operations, to ride out the storm, and to obtain the best value from your current resources. Please reach out to our program coordinators, Manju Pachisia and Mukti Gupta, at the details mentioned below. We are excited to be with you all through the way as you transition from surviving to success. I would now like to thank Anandji and PPG for this very informative and very functional presentation and talk today. As a small token of our gratitude, we'd like to felicitate you, Anandji. A donation of 200 free meals for COVID relief has been made on your behalf. Thank you, Anandji, for this insight into the world of investment and your very inspiring presence and your words. Thank you, Preeti. I'm sure many amongst us will be taking our first steps and other firmer steps towards investing and creating wealth for ourselves and our families. A donation of 200 free meals for COVID relief has been made on your behalf as well.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, and please add similar number from our side as well. You're doing
Yes,
great
please.
job, and I'm really thankful to all of you, particularly Preeti Sureka, who has been, it's a and we are very, very close friends. So Preeti is also my another Preeti daughter, So I thank Preeti Sureka, I thank Sunira, I thank Vivek, and I hope this has been beneficial to everybody. Thanks, Sonal.
Thank you.
Yeah,
So
thank you so much,
Thank you,
Sunita, Vivek. Thank you so much for having us here. Sonal, thank you for just asking the right questions, and it's been a pleasure talking to you. And I think once again, for the women on this platform, please start your journey of investing. It's the time is now, and I hope we've been able to, in some way, inspire you to begin that journey. Thank you, Ruchi. And I love the name Lakshmi. Somebody's written that. So.
I would also like to felicitate Sonal. A donation of 100 meals for COVID relief has been made on your behalf, Sonal.
thank
We
you.
thoroughly enjoyed the interaction today and truly appreciate your time with us here.
Thank you.
I
Thank
would
you so
also
much.
like to thank you, Sonal. I would
Good.
like to thank Merchant Chambers of Commerce and Industry for being our partner today. Thank you, Vivek, for this association, which I hope will bring benefits to both our members. I would also take a moment to thank our lead sponsors, Damodar Ropeways and Infra Limited. We thank our gift partners, The Print Factor, media partners, Sunmark and Ideation Technology Solution Private Limited for their tech support. A very special mention for event coordinators Preeti Sureka, Rashmi Dabriwal, and Radhika Dalmia. Thank you, Team Flow 2020-21, for all your efforts. Thank you, dear members, for being here today and continuing to support us with your participation. I look forward to seeing you all again on Friday, the 19th of June. Thank you and namaste.
Thank you.
Once again. Chalo.